Okay, another podcast, and this guest I've wanted to go on for a while. I can't actually remember when I met Paul, but Paul will remember because he's just that intelligent. But I fundamentally believe this gentleman is one of the reasons why the franchise industry is one of the people that the franchise industry needs. Every time I met him, we've had a great discussion about franchising, and I would like you to just introduce yourself, tell me a little bit about what you do in your job, please.
Thank you, Ryan. Thanks for having us on the podcast, firstly. Yes. Not quite sure how I respond to that. Very warm welcome. So, Paul Lewis, Managing Director for Pitman Training. Yeah. We're owned by Launch Life, so if that name comes up, because we've got a cluster of education brands. I've been around franchising forever. It feels like that anyway, 20 years I think now. And I just love it, every facet of it, which is, perhaps why we get on so well. Yeah. When did we first meet? I think it was probably a BFA gig, maybe your first conference, I think.
Yeah, I think it might have been, or maybe my first expo.
Okay.
I think it might have
franchise show, maybe.
I think it might have been Birmingham 2019 October.
Okay.
I was trying to figure it out for this podcast, but I couldn't nail it down. I think it was then.
Which doesn't sound that long, but 5 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, so it doesn't
pre-COVID.
Yeah. So I think that's when it was. So for the podcast, we've been for a run this morning, and I wanted just to kind of go straight in for the kill and talk to you about what does it mean to you to be selfish.
Okay, yeah, I thought I might regret saying that to you. Well, for context, I think
that's what I want you to give context, because I really like the summary of it. That's why I've asked.
So I've never had an issue with getting older. You're wiser and more mature, and you learn as you go. But I turned 40 a couple of weeks ago, and that did hit me hard. Not only insofar it makes you really think, stop, think, reflect, and I identify that I try to encourage myself and my immediate, my wife and my children to be selfish, but not in a bad, because I think that word has a negative connotation. But it shouldn't have. We put one over it. We say, oh, if you're selfish, you must be a bad person or have bad intentions. But I think we'll replace that word with wellness, well-being, welfare. How about selfish? Actually saying, I'm tired, I'd like to go to sleep now, or I'm hungry, I'd like to eat right now. You could, if you do the British polite thing, wait till everybody's ready to eat. Yeah. No, how about you're hungry, eat now? Yeah. Is that wrong? Does that make it? So I've always been well into my hobbies and interests, and I think that actually makes me a better person. I think I'm more chilled. You've got something to look forward to, because I think most people would book a holiday to try and look forward to something. Problem is that's 6-9 months away usually. How about looking forward to the run you're doing this evening, or the game of snooker I'm playing tomorrow, or the fishing I might be doing on the weekend with my children? Whatever it is, you've got little installments, little things that you're doing, immovable. So I make every commitment that I give, and that includes the ones I make to myself as well.
Yeah, I loved it this morning. We were on that run and you talked about it, and I was just like, I'm going to have to talk about this, because it's something that Madame over there talks about quite a lot, and I do as well. To be honest with you, and you have to pour into yourself. Yeah, and I think you're definitely like this, because you've always been kind and empathetic and sympathetic to me in any sort of conversation we've ever had. Is if you are like that as a person, I think most people are. I'd like to think the world's full of kind people, but you have to pour into yourself, because otherwise you've not got anything to give. Yeah. You can't always deal with them conversations the best way if you're not looking after yourself. So being selfish or self-care or whatever you want to call it is the key, I think. Yeah.
No, so that's I never, perhaps I wasn't like that. You try and put other people before yourself, but I'm not saying I'll put myself before others, but I'm up there. If I promise myself I'm going to do something, I try and make sure that all my loved ones adopt that as well. If you said you were going to go and play football, go and play football. If you said you were going to go to the gym, go and do it. Don't let anything get in the way. Doesn't matter if the weather's bad. Doesn't matter if something comes out of the blue. Stick to what you promised yourself you're going to do.
Yeah, man. Fucking, I wish I could stick to the things I promised myself to do. Like, it's good, isn't it, to push yourself? It's like this morning with that run. I could have easily chalked out on not doing that, but I'm so glad we did it. And then,
it was good.
Yeah, it was good, mate. I mean, obviously it was like your slowest 5K, but it was mine.
No, we used 27 minutes or something, flying by the end.
Yeah.
Couldn't breathe. But
yeah, I couldn't breathe. You hadn't even broke a sweat.
10K next time.
Yeah, yeah. But the thing is I'll just go on to running a little bit, because there's a common theme with most leaders I've had on this podcast. Leaders of teams, leaders of businesses, owners of businesses, any sort of dynamic, hasn't it, Kay, to be honest with you? There's a common theme. A lot of people like running. I don't think you need to be a fast runner. I don't think you need all the best trainers. I don't think you need the best kit. I think just walking or movement, walking the dog, running, moving, that type of thing is amazing. But there's a lot of people who run, and I think I described it in another podcast, is you might see it differently than me, and I've talked to you about this before, is I don't look at the health side of it at all. I clearly look at forgiving people, forgiving myself, putting things to bed in my head, and literally that's it. Really. The gym's exactly the same. Do I care about my form? Not really. Do I care about my times? Not really. Do I want to go to a class and compete? No, not at all. It's about me and being completely selfish. And I think there's a common theme with people who kind of run teams or successful in that way. They've kind of all got that common theme.
Yeah, I totally agree. I often use running, because it's such a big part of my life now. I often use it as the analogy for everything in life. You know, if you want something bad enough, you know, make a plan and go get it. And to your point, Ryan, I tend to use my runs as that's my problem solving. You know, if I've got a problem or a worry, concern, whatever it is, I know by the end of an hour-long run, I will have solved it. You know,
you're quite balanced and controlled every time I see you. Do you think the running is the key to you like that as a person? Do you think you would you be more erratic and not, if you didn't go, have you ever not been able to go for a run and felt yourself acting differently?
Yeah, I think it goes hand in hand with maturity as well. I think personally, I think you become more balanced as you mature. You know, you learn from all your kind of mistakes.
I think you don't mature until you're about 35 as a bloke. Me personally, I know I haven't, and I'm still struggling now at 42. But I definitely know there's been a change in the last few years. But I think 35 is.
Well, I did, and I decided to cancel alcohol about 5 years ago as well. That was. Probably so I could get better at running, or probably for, you know, a number of different reasons. But so I don't have those, you know, I still have down days, and you have times where you need to dig yourself out of a hole, but I'm not reaching for a pint glass to try and help me to do that. Run could well be the tonic that I need, you know, so you're feeling really cheesed off about something, instead of sinking a few pints or something stronger, you know, I'll go and run a marathon instead.
Would you say that if you'd had a particularly bad week at work, or a particularly bad week at home, or any sort of bad challenges come, would you say to yourself, I'm going to go for a run tonight to fix it?
Without a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt, and it's always there for me. You know, it's kind of like that. You know, that best friend you didn't know you had. It sounds a bit, you know, corny.
Because you've not ran forever, have you?
No, like 10, 11 years, something like that. Which sounds like a long time, but so I would have been nearly 30 by the time I thought, and I just never done a single day of exercise. And it was my children were kind of getting into sport, and I was, you know, desperately trying to keep up with them, you know, around the sort of play parks and stuff, thinking I'm really not fit. I've never been overweight or kind of, you know, physically, you know, unhealthy, but I wasn't particularly fit or healthy because I just never done any exercise ever.
Mad that, isn't it? Do you think at any age you could start running?
Wow.
I think at any age you could start running.
I think you could. I think you could. But it's all relative, isn't it? You know, I people, you know, will say, "Oh, you're really fast," or you run really far. But there's always enough people running way faster and way farther than me.
Would you say, have you got a favourite type of run? Does it need to be in a competition? Does it need to be on your own? Is there a length, distance? What's your type? What's like if I could say this weekend you can do what you want, here's a magic wand. Yeah. What would you say?
I don't want to cop out on the answer. I like I like the solitude of running on my own. Yeah. But I love the running in a group. So I mentioned to you, I'm the chairman of my running club, which just happened by accident. I think when you're, I'm a kind of leader, business leader in my work. So whether people find out about that and say, well, why don't you head up our running club? But I wanted to make it, the best club that I could. I wanted to try and give back to the people that I run with. So I like running with people on my own. I like racing. I like just chilling. So I kind of cop out. But my highlight of my year from a running perspective is London Marathon. I never thought I'd run it because it's balloted and you've got no chance of getting in. So I managed to get in through my qualifying times. And I've done that 3-4 years in a row now. So I want to keep that spinning for as long as I can. I know people that have kept it spinning for 20 years in a row.
Wow.
So I'd love to be that person, in my sort of 60s,
how does it
70s.
work, mate? I have no idea about any of this. Talk to me about it.
So just for context, I mean, it's the best marathon in the world, my opinion, but most people would agree with that. You've got crazy millions of spectators, so it just makes it such a epic thing. And you had nearly 1 million people go in the ballot for 40,000 places. So my maths isn't great, but about 1 in 15, 1 in 16 chance of getting a place. Right.
And so you just upload your details. You have to put any times in or anything or racing?
No, they say it's completely randomised. I'm not sure I believe that, but they say it's completely randomised. So some people get in on the ballot, a bit like trying to get Oasis tickets at the weekend. Probably about the same percentages as well. So I found out that if you run what they call good for age, which is just a qualifying time, then you can guarantee your place that way. But I believed, and this is, kind of stretching yourself, getting outside your comfort zone. I believed I could not hit that qualifying time. Utterly convinced it was impossible to hit the qualifying time. And I had enough good people around me that said, you can, and we believe in you, and that was that.
So what is the qualifying time?
Well, it goes down every year because more people get into running, people get faster. Carbon plated shoes come about to make people faster. So when I first got into London, I had to go sub 3 hours, and now it's sub 2:55. And no doubt by next year it'll probably be sub 2:50.
No way.
So still time for you, Ryan.
Yeah, no.
But you can get in on charity as well. So that's almost a guaranteed way. You've just got to be ready to raise a nice chunk of cash for a good charity. Okay.
What's a nice country? How much?
Well, it's like 2.5-3 grand, which I will clear up because I remember thinking, God, these charities, why do they make it so hard? And you have to sign a contract to say you're going to raise all that money. But they have to buy those places. So all the charities come together and they get auctioned off these places, and they can pay. I won't say too much on this podcast, but hundreds and hundreds of pounds per one. So they've already they could have bought it for a lot of money. So they have to then pass that on to you as the fundraiser to say, you've got to raise at least X because we need to pay ourselves back first before we give anything to the actual charity.
I didn't know that. It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah. But if I know you do good deeds and you've raised money in the past. But if ever you want to join me at the London Marathon, that's an option.
No,
Think about it. I'm
too upset in passing you, mate. I just want to upset you that. Like, you know what I mean? I don't think you can handle the disappointment, mate. So I won't do it. Okay. Talk to me about your. I was going to go back for your career, and I think I will do, but I'm always intrigued to talk to you about leadership. Mm-hmm. I know that you look after. What size of team have you got at the minute, Paul?
So reporting into me would be about 30 people at the moment. I hesitate to answer it because we've got different teams in different places, but about 30 people all told.
Like everything, I don't think leadership's ever mastered. And I think it's something that's a practice as well. Mm-hmm. I think you only learn from your mistakes as well. I don't think you can read a book about leadership and then implement it. I think you can read some pieces of it and you can take some knowledge from it, but then I think you only really correct me whenever you want about this. But I've read some books on leadership and team abilities and stuff like that, and I've watched some podcasts and just listened to some bits and pieces. I've heard it, read it, understood it, and then not implemented it. But then I've recognised when I've done something wrong, and that's when I've learned from that piece of work. Do you think that?
I think that's true about anything, isn't it? I think the theory in all those books, and I've read plenty of them, I think the theory is great, and I think you should, a bit like any rule book, you should use that theory for the most part, or a combination of all the. I would say most of my learnings for leadership is life experience, working for great managers, working for not so great managers, great colleagues, because I'm a firm believer, you don't have to be the most senior person in the business. You can manage upwards, you can show leadership, even if you're brand new or very young or whatever. So I would say most of my skills or most of my kind of traits as a manager have just been learned and developed over time.
Yeah, I think that's, I honestly think that is the only way. I've got a couple of people coming through the ranks at Tezlom, and I see it with my physical eyes and speak it to them, and they do things and go to things, and I think to myself, this is their lesson today.
Yeah,
this is their lesson. I have been in these shoes. I have been through what they're going through right now, and this is their lesson today to change. I don't think there's anything I could have taught them, a course that I could have given them, other than them being in that position, something happening to them, and then them learning through it.
I do think, see if you agree with me on this, I do think that parenting and management are aligned, completely aligned.
100%.
I think you have to be careful because, sometimes you've got to, you don't want to be patronising the people that work for you.
Yeah.
But I definitely think, we had children quite young. I definitely think that that's made me a better manager because you have to teach your children, you have to shape your children, you have to have tremendous patience with your children. You have to give them tons of second chances because you can't exactly replace them.
No.
Unlike staff, I guess if you run out of patience with a member of staff, you might choose to move them on or have those difficult chats with your children. It's that's it. Yeah. So you have to shape them. It's there's no other way. And they shape you as well. I think my children make me a better person. So I don't know if you agree with that kind of analogy.
I think you definitely. I also just think being in a relationship as well, though. Yeah. I think being in some sort of personal relationship that teaches you all them skills to a certain degree. If you want it to be a good, healthy relationship, you're going to learn all them things, aren't you? Because I think patience is a massive part of leadership.
Yeah.
And some people might disagree with me. I have to give people chances,
Yeah.
I will give people more chances than most people will. Yeah. And I'll give people chances on some things that people definitely would sack someone over. It's just because I think I've been that person.
Yes.
And I've made that fuck up or mess up myself, and someone else gave me a chance.
Yeah.
So I'm very much like, this is a colossal mess up. You should be getting sacked right now. I'm going to sit here and talk to you about it. I want to go through the darkness with you. I want to understand why. I want to make a pact with you, and I want to put a process in place to going forward. I don't know. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think you need pragmatism. And I think another way of looking at it as well is perfection doesn't exist, and I think often people kill themselves trying to strive for perfection. It just doesn't exist. No. So often it's the lesser of all evils. So accepting that none of your staff will ever be perfect, the same way you are not perfect. You have to let people make mistakes. In fact, we've just had a bunch of new people join our team, and that's in my opening patter. Welcome to the team. I encourage you to make a load of mistakes on a proviso that you can make them once, that's absolutely fine. Twice, I'll let you off. 3 and beyond, then we may have a problem. Learn from it, and then kind of eradicate it. Yeah. And but I want that culture in my teams that they're not afraid of management, they're not afraid of making mistakes or dropping the ball. But learn from it and grow and move on.
It's so true. What I'm finding tricky in some respects is, I know that because I've done it since I was 22, so 20 years, and I'm still think I'm an amateur, very much an amateur. So I've got team members coming through now, and they're trying to have extremely high expectations about their work, and then have extremely high expectations about the people underneath them.
Yeah,
and I'm like, not so long ago, you were doing this. You're now expecting this from them.
Yeah.
You learned that. Why aren't you letting them learn that?
Yeah, yeah.
Why are you being so difficult right now?
Yeah.
Why can't you show that level of empathy that I showed you then?
Yeah.
Learn from the empathy I showed you and show this person it. Don't have these super high expectations of the situation. Coach and mentor them through it.
Yeah. I think, and you have to adjust your benchmarks all the time as well, because I think I'm very aware that I work a lot of hours because I choose to. Nobody tells me that I have to, but I think work and home life are fluid for a lot of people, including myself. So if I choose to get my laptop out on a Saturday night, Sunday night, or whatever, 6 o'clock in the morning, that's my choice. I have to be really careful that that's not a benchmark that I hold my team to. I don't expect them to work after their hours. I don't expect them to log in on holiday and things like this. So you have to have a reasonable and realistic benchmark, I think, for people to deliver against. Because if I held everybody to my own benchmark, then I'd be disappointed all the time.
And also it wouldn't work because you'd have a team full of yous, and that doesn't work.
Or they'd all be burnt out, and that's no good. And I think recognising as well that remuneration comes into it. I think you could say, well, we all have our own level of drive and integrity regardless, but I think remuneration comes into it. If you're on minimum wage, there's a certain level of application that goes along with that.
There's a level of bullshit you're going to put with as well.
If you're contracted till 5, you'll be out the door at 5.
I don't blame you either, though.
Exactly. But if somebody says, well, if you stay late, you start getting overtime or you get a bonus, then then suddenly.
And we're talking about working towards something.
Yes.
There's this in the pipeline for you. I need to help me with more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So no, I've always tried to be ambitious, deliver more. I'm a firm believer that if you deliver more and you've got good people around you, good bosses, then I think you get recognised. That's where you get promotions from, and that's where you get opportunities given to you. I think there is a lot of talk, online and social media about I'm never giving an extra minute to my company because it's not in my contract. I think there's a bit of a black hole there that I know I've always tried to be, not necessarily last one out the office, but showing willing. I do think there's this. I'm a firm believer in goodwill. I think if you put goodwill in the bank with somebody, then when you try and draw down on that, you're entitled to. If
100%.
If I've done you 10 favours, when I then ask you for one, I'd be pretty expectant that you'd do me well.
100%, mate. Yeah. I try my hardest to have that at Tezlom. I try my hardest to have that at Tezlom. Sometimes they come along and you think, wow, didn't expect that one to be like that. But, I'll swallow it because of these things that you've done.
It works the other way as well, right? If someone's drained their goodwill account with you, if, I've been late for the 5th day running, and can I have an extra day off, and can I leave early? Hang on a minute. Now you're in negative equity. That kind of doesn't go well with me either. I think it's you mentioned relationship. I think whether it's marriage, friendship, whether it's your immediate family or whatever, I think goodwill is a thing. I do try and keep keep my awareness of that all the time.
If I'm going to put you on the spot here because I think you can handle it. If you had 3 things you could tell someone who was coming into a leadership role, what 3 things would they be? Or maybe 2 or 1 thing. What 3 things would you say to them to try and remember?
Yeah, good question. I think humility. You don't think that you know everything, because you definitely don't. So I think humility, and I think a lot of managers struggle with that, because once you've got that manager badge on, hypothetically, I think in your own head you think, I have to have every answer. I have to know more than everyone around me. Mm-hmm. Not true. I think humility would be right up there. I think we've talked a lot about patience and pragmatism, so I'd kind of put that together. Especially most of our businesses, we're not performing open heart surgery. I often say to my staff, no one's going to die. Now, that's not true of every single industry, but with the exception of open heart surgeons, I think we're all, if it takes an extra day or if it takes an extra week, so I would say humility, patience, pragmatism. I think that I'll stick with those.
I think they're great examples of leadership as well myself. I think the word empathy is in there as well, and in them 2 things, that's where that sits in them anyway.
Well, you mentioned a moment ago about you think I've shown good empathy and sympathy. Maybe I recognise that as my weakest trait, and my wife reminds me of this all the time. I think because I'm such a practical person, if there's a problem, I want to find a fix, a solution. So I kind of skip over the sympathy. Often my wife, who I love to pieces, she will say, "I just need a bit of sympathy from you." And I'm there with the box of paracetamol, saying, here's the answer.
Yeah.
She said, no, I'm telling you I had a headache or I've had a bad day, so that you kind of,
ask about it.
Yeah. But I'm there with, with the paracetamols or the bandages.
What I've noticed about you, and I don't know if you notice it yourself, but you pause. You can pause, and that's a really good skill, isn't it? Sometimes I'll say something to you, and you don't immediately react. You'll pause.
Yeah, try not to be impulsive.
Yeah.
Try not to be impulsive. I'm super well. So when I was younger, and I recognise this in my eldest, he's 17, Daniel, super defensive. Yeah. And I think that's where the pause comes from, because if I heard something, whether it was to me or to somebody else, you feel right, your back goes up and you want to defend it straight away. So I do try to pause, and I try not to be defensive. So I'd like to think I'm self-aware. I know that I'm not very empathetic, and I know that I'm defensive actually at heart. Although people say, I don't recognise that either of those things in you, and that's good validation to me. It means I'm working hard enough on, because I think you have to work on your weaknesses, right?
100%. I just noticed the pause, and I appreciate it.
Do you sort of look at yourself in the same way? Do you know what your weaknesses are, and you try and work on those?
I know I've got a big ego. I know I can come across a bit sometimes, and I'm really trying to pull that back sometimes.
Where does that come from?
I don't know. I think, I'll be honest with you, at the minute it's probably insecurities, to be honest with you, right now. I think there's a lot of insecurities knocking around.
Yeah.
I think that's it. I try my hardest to think about my behaviour throughout a day. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I don't. I won't lie to you, I just don't think. But some days I think, was that appropriate? Did I go about that the right way? Do
you worry about what anybody thinks about you?
I think when people say that, I think they're lying.
When they say they're not worried?
Yeah, not worried.
Okay.
I think they're lying. I think everyone worries what people think about them.
Yeah.
But I worry about the people I care about, what they think about me.
Yeah.
I don't worry so much about everyone else. Mm-hmm. But if I care about someone and they're in my life day to day, I would worry what you thought about me.
Yeah.
I interact with you a lot. I'll see you wherever I go in any BFA event. I would worry if you didn't think I would want a conversation with you.
Yeah.
Okay, absolutely. We speak every fucking minute of every day. Mm-hmm. I think the people I'd care about and that are in my life and I class as a friend or someone I feel like someone who's warm to me, I worry about what they think. The rest of the world, not so much.
I'd say word for word the same.
Yeah. Not so much.
Yeah, if my children or my wife kind of picked up on something or had a criticism of me, I'd take that to heart. If somebody, a virtual stranger, gave me a criticism or a remark, I would not care. Wouldn't stick around.
Yeah, because I'll be like, well, you don't even know what shoes I'm even wearing. Yeah, you don't even know what I'm going through right now. So, how don't give me your opinion. I would never give my negative opinion, so I'm not going to take yours. But people around me, I think there's insecurities there. That's why I act the way I do.
I definitely extends to work. I think you sort of have your actual family and your work family. I know you use that language as well. I think the same. You spend so much time with the people that you work with, and I'm very aware that I am a role model without choosing to be. I guess when you choose to be a manager, you do take on that mantle. But I am super aware that I'm a role model. And I actually had one of my staff members say, you inspire me. And that kind of floored me. I thought, wow, unintentionally, I don't, I didn't really have a response for that. But I certainly, went home happy that day, thinking if I've helped to inspire somebody on their journey, then that's got to be a good thing.
Yeah, I think you are inspiring. I think you're inspiring. I think that comes from. I think everyone has different levels of inspiration as well. I get inspired from you because of the way you control yourself. I like that about you, and that's what makes me feel safe around you. And I think that's a good trait to have, isn't it? And I think everyone gets inspired by different ways of different people for different things.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Well, because I thank you for saying that. Back at you. I get inspired by your confidence and your energy and your your sort of no shits given attitude. I think inspiration. You're right. Is it somebody who can talk to 1,000 people with a booming voice and, word perfect. I think most people would look at that. To be a great president or prime minister, you've got to be inspirational, gregarious. I'm not those things. No. I think I have a level of confidence, but I do try to be, confident and assured and calm. Yeah, I think because if you're not careful, everything unravels so easily, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I mentioned to you recently that I did have some challenges in my younger days, and I think I tried to keep calm. I do think reflection and pause is important as well. Just give yourself time, sleep on it, reflect on it, maybe get some advice on what it is. Don't bottle it up. I try not to bottle things up, and definitely share. If you've got challenges, try and share them. And they always what's the expression? A problem shared is a problem halved. And I think it's true. So true. Yeah.
The biggest thing I've ever learned from my mum is sleep on it.
Yeah,
sleep 100. If I was ever going to tell anyone who's looking to manage me,
don't press send.
Yeah, just fucking sleep on it. Yeah. Even if you really, 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 really want to solve it, just one sleep.
And I think,
and even if you react at 6 o'clock the next morning, as long as you've slept.
If you've slept on it and you're still in the same, go for it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people do need a telling off, or they do need a challenge or whatever. I definitely think I found. And I never drank much alcohol, but if it was a couple of times a month, where you had a big night out or whatever, you'd send that message, or you'd kind of slip into a different persona, and I didn't like that about myself. I didn't like, sorry if I was a bit loud last night. Sorry if I offended you last night. There's almost a script, isn't there, to being that the night after you were drunk. There's sorry if I made a fool of myself. And I thought, at what point do I not want to be saying these things? And I've not, muttered those words for 5 years. Now, I'm not preaching it, because I drank everything for 20 years. Yeah. In terms of, you go, it's a birthday. And
never say never. You might have a drink one day, you never know.
Yeah, I'm going to say I won't. Yeah. And actually, now I've got a 17 going on 18-year-old. I'm encouraging, have a beer, enjoy yourself with your friends, because I don't want to preach it, but for me it works, and no hangovers is good, and I never have that sort of fuzzy head, and alcohol plays tricks on you as well.
Oh, mate.
You start crying, and you get angry, and so I don't have those days anymore.
Yeah, I didn't drink for 2.5 years at one point. I went back to it, and I'm very, very, very close to just cutting it out at the minute.
Yeah,
I did 75 hard. Was it this year? Was it last year?
I think it was this year.
Yeah, 75 hard. That was nice not to drink.
So tell me, 75 days of
75 consistent days. If you break any day, you have to go back to day one. Mm-hmm. So it's 2 45-minute workouts a day, and they've got to be a separate. So you can't just do 45 minutes and then another 45 minutes. Yeah. One of them's got to be outside, and then it's no alcohol, no chocolates, no sweets. Follow some sort of diet plan. Read 10 pages of a non-fiction book and drink a gallon of water.
Yeah, and how did it go?
What? Oh, yeah, a progress picture.
Okay.
I didn't lapse. I think it was one day. I had a chocolate protein bar, but in my head, that was a fucking protein bar.
Yeah. You're justifying it.
Yeah. And I had a bite and spat it out, I think. So so I actually, even your lifestyle, I'd say try it. I'd say try it. The biggest thing it taught me is that everyone's lazy.
Yes, yeah. You said something recently about this.
Yeah, everyone's lazy.
That really resonated with me. I can't remember what was the opposite to that.
So you think you're tired.
Yeah, okay.
You're not tired, you're lazy. Mm-hmm. There'll be times you definitely have pushed yourself to go for a run. You've done the run and you feel amazing. Yeah. But before that run, you were tired.
Yeah.
You weren't tired, you were being lazy.
Yeah.
It's there's a difference.
And I think that's why it did resonate, because if I say I've been running for 10 years roughly, the first 5 years, and laziness, excuses, probably the same thing. Yeah. But if it was raining, I would not go, because who wants to
People hate the word lazy, don't they? Yeah. No one wants to be known as lazy. Yeah. There's fucking no one.
Then you'd say, if you got, a cold, you wouldn't go. Now for me, it's I use the word immovable. Yeah. It would need to be something pretty, it would need to be something pretty massive for me not to go ahead with my intended plan. I might move it, if something
different time.
You get a curveball and you need to move it different time, but whether it's 5 a.m. or I've been out at 1 a.m. before, because you think I promised it to myself, so I am doing it.
No. So that's what 75 hard taught me. I think I will do 75 hard again in 2025.
Yeah.
I think one a year would be good for anyone.
But I look at those things sometimes and think, but is it, because it's a thing then, isn't it? You've made it temporary. You've said it's 75 days, and then I'm going to stop it. And
but it's the things you learn from it, Paul, is then they become into your life. Yes. They come into your life. So I understand what you're saying. I agree.
Because I'm coming at it from a sustainability. If you want to introduce better diet or better hydration or exercise, whatever it is, do it. Do it for 365 days.
But so if I take it this way, then you are right, and I completely agree with you. What I'm trying to give you is the reason why I think you should do it, and then it brings you better habits. And that's what it did to me. So I've only read one book before I did 75 hard. Read 3.
Gotcha.
So now reading's in my life. I've got a book next to my bed. I read it. Water. What I thought was hard work to get 2 litres down, it's a piece of piss. It's a piece of piss. Getting 6 litres down is different. Not having alcohol and going to birthday parties, award ceremonies. You've seen me at some awards not drinking. You can do it. It's feasible. You can enjoy yourself.
And I think you're absolutely bang on. I think I commend you for doing it, and clearly there's been lasting benefits from doing it.
Just one more thing, I did nearly a 10k every single day.
I remember.
For 75 days. I was flying. There's all that side of it, like when I'm
coming. But I guess what I'm kind of throwing back is there a danger that that's done? Because what happened to your 10Ks?
They stopped.
What happened? So my wife said to me on the weekend, and the children were in the room, and she said, "Do you know what's so annoying about Dad?" And
he's consistent.
He's so bloody disciplined. And I kind of, I don't know if it was a criticism, but I took it as a compliment. And I don't know, do I deliberately, I have pretty good willpower, like with the alcohol, with, the things I eat. So I did a food intolerance test last year. And I'd advocate this. If anyone has, kind of bloatedness or kind of, tummy cramps, whatever, sign up to do a food intolerance test. The one I did, I won't plug the brand, but the one I did, shows you what you should and shouldn't eat. And it's all done in a lab. So they take a blood test, and it's all done in a lab, and they tell you what you can't. And it told me I couldn't eat eggs, couldn't eat wheat, couldn't eat dairy, couldn't eat potatoes. So it wipes out most major food groups. And since then, I just haven't eaten those things. And my wife's saying, but you must miss chips, and you must miss chocolate, and you must miss cheese. No.
I did the same thing in intolerance test, lost 3 stone.
Wow.
Dairy.
Wow.
Dairy was the biggest one.
Dairy is, a lot of people. We're not really designed to drink, cow's milk.
Wine, dairy, and wheat is mine.
Okay.
So I try my hardest, but bread just sneaks in all the time. So I agree with what you're saying, and after you've done 75 hard for 75 days without messing up, you kind of cannot not go back to you just don't go back to normal. Does that make sense? So say this is normal or under normal. Say you did drink loads of beer, you didn't exercise, and I did some of the things that were on 75 hard, and I was good at them. So if you didn't do any of the things on 75 hard, you did 75 hard and completed it, you're not going to go back here.
I'm with you.
Does that make sense?
I'm with you.
I understand what you're saying, the consistency piece. But I train, 5 days a week most weeks, 6 days a week most weeks. I might not run and do both, but for the last 2 weeks, I have trained twice a day. One in the morning, one at night. Sometimes I run, and I have done. Water's a big part of my life. I cut out a lot more chocolate now. So I think doing the work of 75 hard will have an impact in your habits going forward. It won't give Paul's discipline though.
And I think so. Again, it's back to the benchmark thing. I recognise my benchmark is what it is. My wife thinks I'm annoyingly disciplined.
Terminator, aren't you?
So I get no way, but I get so I hear that. But most people, will kind of lapse, the very next day. But I think there must be a psychology to 75 is a long. That's over 2 months, 2.5 months. Yeah. So it's I'm not a fan of fad diets. I'm on the Atkins diet for 2 weeks. And then you'll just eat everything afterwards. And I think sometimes they can actually be worse for you because you feel then, right, I've done it. Now I deserve a takeaway and I deserve 10 beers, so I think you've got to be careful. That was actually, I'll tell you, where the alcohol thing came from. There were lots of factors at the time, the hangovers and, kind of not liking yourself, being a bit drunk and all that. I remember I was working away at the time, so this was over 5 years ago, and I was staying in a hotel kind of Monday to Thursday, come home on a Friday, and the children would get to a point, excited that Dad's coming home. So they'd open the door, they'd hear the car coming on the driveway, open the door, and my little daughter, who would have been about 5 at the time, had a beer, already with the cap off. There you go, Daddy. And really sweet in many ways, but I thought, that's not right, is it? That's not right, because I'd obviously said, hard week at work, I need a beer. And that became a little thing. And my children were kind of adopting the habit with me, and I thought, that's not right. I can't have this.
Interesting that.
Yeah. And I said to in fact, there was one more episode after that where my son had his first gymnastics competition. He's grown up, he's given it up now, but he had his first gymnastics, loads of pressure, loads of, kind of anxiety from him. And my wife and I were obviously going to support him. And I was meeting up with my friends the night before, just a, game of poker in my friend's house. And my wife said, look, don't go crazy because we've got Harry's gym competition tomorrow. I did get really drunk, and I kind of don't remember getting home. And she woke me up with about 5 minutes till the comp started, and I managed to get to the comp. So I was there, couldn't let him down, but I was a shadow. I couldn't function very well. And I remember internal conversation. You nearly let him down. You very, very nearly let Harry down, and that was that.
Yeah, I like that, mate. I'm gonna have to pry, right? Okay, so if you don't like it, just say.
Go for it.
Where do you think your ambition was born from?
I was going to ask you the same question. I will say I'm not like relentlessly ambitious. I'm not looking to be, world domination. I want to be the best version of myself. Yeah. I think I had a bit of hardship when I was younger.
Can we talk? That's what I was straight in for the kill.
Yeah. So I think, but it's not woe is me, and I don't,
it never is. It's just a story. It's just a story.
So grew up on a very grotty council estate, which was normal at the time. But looking back, I think I don't want that for my kids. And they talk about, I'm sure you agree with this. You have people say motivation. There's different types of motivation, and I recognise you've got toward motivation, which is there's £1 million over there, you want to reach towards it, but there's away motivation, and I know that is what drives me. I'm motivated away from poverty, away from hardship, away from issues. So I'm ambitious because I want to stay well away from some of the hardships that I had when I was younger. Yeah. So you need a level of income to be comfortable. Yeah. But I did, I'm not sort of I don't wish to be super rich or anything like that, because I don't think money brings you happiness.
No, it doesn't.
But I will argue that a level of income brings you comfortability, and I think
I think so. I'm exactly the same. I just love that word you use, poverty, because my dad used to say to me all the time, and he used to say to Mum all the time, is that he just doesn't want to be in poverty because he came from a really poor background, and he money doesn't buy happiness, because you can be extremely depressed, almost suicidal, in a £100,000 car and a £500,000 house. Yeah, I know.
Well, you see how many celebrities, that take their own life, that kind of addicted to drugs, and their life is in utter turmoil. They've got millions in the bank, but so I do think, and I've got a few friends who are maybe going through this. I think you have to try and be. What's the word I'm looking for? Content? Yeah, contentment. That's the word I was looking for. That's not some people will hear that and think, well, that's accepting second best. But back to my earlier point, there is no perfection. So don't chase perfection. Doesn't exist. So be happy, like, you know, with the simple things in life. And if you've got a level of money to do some things, you've got a nice house, you've got a nice lifestyle, be content with that. You know, I've got a friend at the moment who's going through, you know, outside looking in, great job, great car, great income, great other half, great, you know, house. You know, you'd think, wow, the envy of a lot of people. Absolutely not happy with any of it. You know, wants to upgrade every single part of his life. You could say, well, that's good, isn't it? Because he's really ambitious. But imagine where your state of mind is, that you're not happy with any one of those things that most people would be super proud of. I don't know. I think
needs to practice some gratitude.
Gratitude. I call it contentment, but gratitude's probably a better word. But I think also that role model thing, you know, not an easy question to answer. Where does your ambition come from? But I think I'm so acutely aware that I'm a role model to my children, and I didn't have that role model. So I think there's you know, a lot to be said for that. You know, I want them to, and we hear it. It's, you know, that validation thing. Not that you need it, but we had some family get-togethers, barbecues, friends. You know, and a lot of my friends said, you know, Daniel, who's my eldest, he's exactly like you. He's got, you know, your confidence, your drive, oh wow, okay, yeah, that's interesting. Nice, yeah. So it's rubbed off. You know?
Yeah. So the money thing is always a tricky one. You don't need money to be happy, but when you've had something catastrophic happen to your family, you need money to deal with the situations, and that's where I think money comes into it. And then also, it's a level of things where it's difficult, isn't it? I'm going for a meal at the weekend, and it's an obscene amount of money. To some people. Some people it'd be pittance. But I know I'll really enjoy that environment that evening, but some people wouldn't enjoy it because it's such a large amount of money to go on. It's such a difficult thing, isn't it, sometimes?
It is, but I think it's, if you did it every night or every week, then
there's a level of...
I think that would be unhealthy. Even if you had, I always say, if I won the lottery, I wouldn't be eating £100 steaks every day.
No.
I would not do that. I think I took my wife, she had a birthday last year, I took her to the Ritz.
Nice.
And that was, that was really nice, you know, and she really, really enjoyed that. And, you know, no expense spared. But we kept it as a special occasion, and we wouldn't do it, you know, because otherwise it actually devalues it.
It's not special, isn't it? It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
I always think about money as well when something goes wrong.
And for you, you know, where does your ambition come from?
I need to think about it.
Well, that's me assuming you are ambitious.
Yeah, I'm definitely ambitious. I know that. I'm ruthlessly ambitious.
Yeah.
I think it stemmed from mum and dad. Both, I'm very privileged. They're both entrepreneurs. Both had their own businesses, and I've been very lucky to be born into a family like that. I think understanding that part of it, really didn't like education, really didn't like school, don't have many friends, I've never had many friends in that respect. I've never been a popular person. But when I left school and did education, when I went into selling cars, I think my ambition came from my dad and my mum in different dynamics. And then I think when dad passed and brother passed, it pushed me into a different level of ambition and different level. And I think them things change, can't they? I think throughout your life, things change and you get goals, and then your goal changes, and the way you see goals change as well. And I think my ambition is just it's inside me. I can't fucking shift it. If I wanted to get rid of it, I couldn't.
But it sounds like you're trying to make your family proud, maybe?
Yeah, I think just make myself proud.
I
don't think I'm making anyone else proud, just making myself proud. And I think I've got the abilities to create something special, and I have created something special, and the people involved are amazing and special too. And I just want to take them on that journey with work, and then as a father, to be the best version of a dad I can be, based on what I know and what I go through. And then also as a person, just try and be the best ethical kind of person I feel like I can be. And I think that's it. I completely fuck it up all the time on a daily basis, make it wrong every day. But Yeah, that's probably yeah.
Just hearing you talk then, Ryan, I do. There are a couple of practical factors for me as well. One is that I'd like to have the option to retire at a certain age. So I don't sign up to this, 65 and you draw your pension, that's the end. I think that's very British. And
mate, you'll have too much knowledge to do that. You can't do that.
Yeah, but I would like to have the option, and I'd like to maybe slow down my hours or change my, career completely, so I think there's having enough money to retire, because I think we don't necessarily plan well enough for that time of our life. But also, I remember, really, really distinctly, Katie and I, my wife Katie, we had a conversation quite early into our, we weren't married. We were going serious. I think she'd moved into my place. And she said, by the way, if this is it, and if we're having children and, we're going to be married forever, she said, you can do all the work. As in, you can, you go and get your career, and I want to be a homemaker. I want to be, with the children. I want to, I don't want to work. I want to be a homemaker and support everybody. And we kind of shook on that. That was kind of the deal. Nice. So we really only have one income coming into the household. So I'm aware of that as well. It's not like, I can, chill because she's got some income coming into the household. No. I've been very, very aware. And I remember no more so than when we were pregnant with our first Daniel, and Katie went on to maternity. We did have 2 wages at that time, but she said, I'm not going back. And I knew my wage couldn't even cover the bills. We would be short. So when she was pretty heavily pregnant, I changed my job. Big risk at the time, but it was towards a salary, that would allow us to kind of get by. And I just remember, looking back, that was quite pivotal actually. And I think ambition maybe stems from necessity as well. I think sometimes, at that time, that wasn't just, I had a necessity. There was a, chunk of change that I needed to replace. So I went and found it. Yeah.
It's also great that I think having a partner that can come on that journey with you, or it just being able to do it on your own, amazing as well. But also, if you've got a partner and you have them conversations, you've got that direction together. That's important. If you're going to be in a relationship with someone, that person needs to be of equal drive, I personally think, because this is a big fucking topic now, Paul. But because of the women do want to look after the children, or that kind of goes that way sometimes. I wish it wasn't always the case, but it kind of always does go that way. It's just being able to have them open and frank conversations like you did with your wife about the situation. It could have been you that she could have been the breadwinner.
And you get, like you say, you get into a conversation about.
It has to be there, that conversation.
But it does.
It's a medical conversation.
My wife, we can talk about equalities and, kind of the role of male, female, and husband, wife, but just the very fact that my wife carried 3 children for 9 months, and then she breastfeeding as well. So she often says I was either pregnant or breastfeeding for 6-7 years in a row. And that's just how it was. So to try and have a career during that 6-7 year period would have been challenging. It wouldn't have been impossible. But
she'd been more resilient than me and you as well.
I couldn't have done it. So I think that was really the point she was making before we ever fell pregnant. She was sort of saying, look, if this is our plan, our life plan together, you go and kind of nail a career, and I'll do the best I can to support you. And she's absolutely.
I think it's the harder job.
100%. I kind of can only do what I do and be the person I am because of her. And I mean, it sounds cliched, but but
she can only do her job because of where you are. As well. It goes both ways.
I often say, we are a team.
But it's that ability to have that conversation. That's the piece, isn't it? If you're not going to converse on that level of just let's just take our emotions out of this for a second. This is how it's going to be. Are you all right with that? I am. Right, there's a common goal for both of us here. It's going to be difficult. There's going to be times when we both regret it. There's going to be times we both really like it. Are you cool with it? Yeah, great.
Yeah.
It needs that conversation.
Well, I think maybe, back to the lacking kind of empathy thing. I was practical. It wasn't quite, here's the contract, sign it. But in my mind,
but there's an NDA here, just in case.
Like, and I think that comes from, like I say, a bit of turmoil in my younger days. I think, I do every problem as a solution. And I think, just find the solution as quickly as you can, usually. I remember, a couple of conversations like that. And I remember we were about 18 years old, and I said, by the way, I do want children, and I want to buy a house, and this is, and she said, well, yeah, I'll go along with that. I'm cool with all of that. She was still in sixth form at the time, but that was just, I was quite independent from a young age.
I need to scratch into this a little bit more, if that's all right. So just kind of give me like a mum and dad. Just start again from there. So have you got any brothers or sisters? What's your mum and dad like, etc.?
Yeah. I try and give you the concise version. So my mum was, single parent for the most part, right. And I had stepdads in and out of my life. That was normal. So I didn't, pine for a dad. I did, then. And that was, kind of living on a council estate with
Mum didn't work.
She did on and off, and she, she was super hardworking. So I probably do get some of her ambition. I remember her. She got her provisional driving license so she could get a scooter to work, so she could do a proper job. Again, at the time, it's just, see your mum as she goes off on this rusty old scooter. But, she was kind of risking her life to pursue this job. So, and I had two half-sisters. I don't call them half-sisters, but technically that's what they were. So we all have different dads. Again, normal for me. So it's...
Busy Christmas.
Yeah, busy Christmas. Yeah, very busy. And then, my mum had a tough period, very tough. I think she's of the age where you wouldn't talk about mental health and you wouldn't go to the doctors, and so she would self-medicate, and that was really, really tough, an impossible situation.
Have you got a nice relationship with the mum?
No. She, I've tried, and it's better that we don't talk anymore. And I'm kind of okay with that because I've tried so much, and I know that.
You tried to keep your side of the street clean.
I think we're both better off just doing our own. My mum's like a hermit crab. She wants to be, just in her shell on her own for the most part. And so then I ended up. My stepdad became my foster carer, so I moved out of my mum's. And then after that, I kind of sofa surfed for a little bit. This was around sort of 16, 17. And then got a full-time job, dropped out of college. So necessity, I had to get money. And pretty much my 18th birthday, I had my own place. And nice, looking back, it was all right. It was a nice
house, or
little house, what they call like a cluster house. Yeah. So front garden, back garden. I'd sort of lucked out. I had it was about 90% of my wages were paying for this house, and that's when I said, like, Katie, you need to sort of move in. She said, well, I'm going to university. I said, well, that doesn't work. Like, I maybe regret saying that now, but yeah, I said, well,
what were you doing for a job? Can you remember? What were you doing for a job?
I was a retail jeweler, so I was salesman effectively, but even then, I was the youngest supervisor ever, and I was the youngest assistant manager ever, and youngest manager, and that was my career. Whilst all my friends were learning different trades or going to university, I very consciously decided, right, this retail thing is going to be my career right now. So my wife agreed to not go to university. She was going to train up as a nurse, and she, we kind of just became a team. And then by 20, we were married. 21.
No way. That's
yeah. So it was all. We skipped a big chapter. We didn't. I'd never even left the country until our honeymoon. So that's just again upbringing. We just didn't have
the opportunity,
foreign holidays and stuff. Again, I didn't think that was strange, looking back, and I didn't want that for my children, and that's.
I can see why you're so ambitious now, and I can see why you're so rigid, and I can see why you want control and stuff like that.
Yeah,
because
I do.
You didn't have that control, did you, mate? That's why.
Try not to be a control freak, because I
don't think you're a control freak, but you want discipline.
I do like to be, really, kind of conscious and very, deliberate, I think. I
didn't mean that in a negative.
No, I didn't take it. I know what you mean. So, that's what I missed out in amongst all of that is I did actually meet my biological father.
Right, okay.
So I didn't know, who he was. And then just by chance, my auntie jumped in a taxi. And you might remember, I think it's still a thing now, where from the rearview mirror, they have their ID hanging down. And she said, "Oh, no way, you're Adrian Lewis. Yeah, I'm actually living with Paul's family, and would you like to meet him?" I think I was maybe 14 at the time. So I met my biological father through this, freak occurrence, and it kind of cured my curiosity, but we didn't carry on a relationship. He was all right, seemed like a normal guy, but it was, So that I don't know if that affected me, but I don't have those role models, because I've distanced myself from my mum and I never knew, didn't really know my dad. I've had to, kind of carve out what I think is the right benchmark to try and work towards.
Your own ambition, your own.
And because, children as well, I get, I was going to ask you actually, sort of driving up here yesterday, what would be your definition of happiness?
I've tried to talk about this a lot. I think happiness is not a physical state. I don't think you can be.
You could just say smiling all the time, but that's not right.
I don't think
put a smile on.
I don't think you can be happy all the time. I just don't think it's impossible. I think it's impossible.
Yep.
I don't think you can be happy all the time.
Yep.
I think I can't really. Do I remember particular times when I've been happy? Not really. Because I think it goes up and down. I'm happy right now.
Yep.
I'm happy talking to you right now. I've got a fucking shitload of shit going on in my life right now. Like fucking out of control shit.
Yeah.
But I'm happy right now. Yeah, talking to you. Yeah, I'm really happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think I love that fucking phrase. I'm gonna fucking get it wrote on my wall in my office. Nothing's perfect, and stop trying to strive for perfectness.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think when you let yourself off the hook like that,
yeah,
and just kind of embrace the present day. Me and you are strategically planning our life all the fucking time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you have to do some of that, but then just enjoy the present day. Just enjoy the fact that I've got a nice bright pink t-shirt on today.
Yep.
I like it.
Yep.
My hair looks okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to have some nice lunch. I'm going to Milton Keynes with Kay later on to see the BFA Awards. Like, just embrace that part of it. Could I get really fucking down about my current situation in my life? Yeah.
Yep.
But I choose not to. And I've been in... I found my dead brother at the bottom of the stairs, dead, stone cold. He hung himself. Like, I have been to the fucking dark, like, sat there for 45 minutes waiting for CID to turn up. I've been in some pretty dark places. I think it's the epitome of darkness that I think from maybe losing a child. Oh. Yeah, like my mum has. I've been in a pretty dark place, and I think you can get back yourself out of it. I think you can build yourself. It might take time, and you're going to go back to that, and it's not going to be perfect, but I think you can fight your way back. So happiness, I think, is a state of mind, and it can come and go, and I think you base on that. Do I think it's up to you? Yeah. I think you can work towards getting better. You can wake up absolutely I woke up crying. I woke up crying.
Wow.
I'm so depressed. I've wanted to fucking kill myself. I've planned it. I've gone to go and kill myself.
Wow.
I've been there. But I think you can. I think some people can't. My brother couldn't.
It's tough, isn't it?
Yeah, man. It's a big question. That
on paper, it sounds like a straightforward question.
Yeah.
What's the definition of it? What makes you happy?
Yeah, I don't know. I think you just got to work towards it, Paul, aren't you? I think you've got to work towards it. I think you've got to try and work towards it. I think the things I'm going for at the minute, what I've learned is time. Time is a healer.
Yes.
I think letting things pass, enjoying your day, trying to work through it, understand you go through some heavy stuff, try not to react too much, try not to take out on other people. Sorry, Kay. But having those people understanding that what you're going through and that they might be a punching bag is also imperative.
I think I can't agree more. And I think you have to forgive yourself as well.
Yeah.
again, another thing that I often get criticised for. I if I have I make a mistake or I kind of fall out with somebody, I want to move on as quickly as possible. Now, so you could argue, no, you've got to talk it through, or rake it back up. But I actually think, often that's not my choice of remedy. Just move on and move towards something more positive. I think so. You've got to forgive yourself. Self-loathing and I think that's. That's not good for us, but we do it. So try and do less of it. I think I mentioned to you on the run this morning. If my gang, so my world is 4 people, 5 if I include myself. That's my world. Of course, you then have another circle, which is your family. Beyond that, then you've got another circle, which is your friends and work colleagues, and so you've got a few circles within circles. But if my gang are happy, then I'm well on my way. Well on my way. And then if I can be a little bit selfish, and so I often have what I call the perfect weekend, which is, so weekend just gone, I went for a run. My daughter came on her bike. Loved that, and she didn't stop smiling. We didn't stop laughing. I went for a park run with Harry, my 14-year-old. He loves park run, and I think you've done park run before.
No.
Please put it on your list. Please put it on your list, because it's a 5K community. I think it's a
Jake does them here, doesn't he? Jake does them down park.
It's a phenomenon in terms of you've got hundreds of members of the community, and running different times, walking. Some people take their dog, some people push a pram, but it's free and it's all run by volunteers. So I do that with Harry every week, and we love it together. And then Daniel and I went for a run as well. I mean, running is the theme, but I also took him for a driving lesson, so we bonded, and just being around the family and seeing them smiling. I think that's and if you can tick off a few of your own, kind of passions as well. So for me, that's the closest you get to, to happiness. Like you say, then what next? Because then, right, what about tomorrow? What about, So I think contentment I talk about, and I think finding pleasure in small things. Love going for a nice coffee with a friend. Just... try and I think often we chase it. Some people chase it through drugs. Some people chase it through, like dopamine is a real thing. Some of us need more or less of it, but that can be very undoing, because if you're just chasing, and the more dopamine you have, the more dopamine you need, and
I think it's a practice. Everything's a practice, isn't it? I don't think it's like leadership's a practice, happiness is a practice. I think it's a practice, isn't it? I think if you know what it is and try and do it well. The last thing I want to try and cover with you is just how you fell into franchising. I think it's always interesting to find out how people, because I don't think everyone else just applies to a job. And just kind of, how did you fall into franchising? So,
that is the right expression. I did fall into it. It wasn't a choice, conscious choice. So I was the retail guy. So retail jewellery was I often call that my kind of first career, really. That was about 6-7 years, and worked my way up, learned everything about jewellery that I possibly could. Took the only diploma that exists, retail jewellery diploma. So that was cool. Really enjoyed that. So I realised I was good at building rapport and selling things, and then one of my bosses said, would you like to come and work for this other brand called Venture Photography? You might have heard of them. And you have to remember, this was maybe like 2006, so before digital photography was mainstream. So certainly before we had phones that are amazing cameras. So we were still queuing up at the chemist to get our analog pictures developed. So I went to Venture Photography because it was premium, it was expensive, it was similar to jewellery in that sense. It was, and I was an area manager there, but it happened to be franchising. So I kind of, what does this even mean? All I knew about a franchise was McDonald's. I couldn't quite work out how Venture was franchised. But I quickly realised that I wasn't just the sales guy or the retail guy. I became a franchise guy, and had a knack, I suppose, of dealing with franchise partners and supporting franchise partners. I to this day, I really like what it stands for. I think because I think the customer of a franchise business gets the best level of service. I think because there's an owner somewhere who's, it's their livelihood and their, they care about everybody in their business, staff and customers included. And then from venture, and I loved being in that business. I then joined Expense Reduction Analysts, which is a B2B franchise. So that was very different again. I was almost looking for the tangible product. There wasn't one. I struggled with that for a little period. But then it clicked, but it was because it was franchising, and we had hundreds of franchisees around the world.
Wow.
That taught me a heck of a lot. I was with them for nearly 10 years, and every aspect of franchising I really learned with those guys. And it's not all kind of rosy. When franchising's working well, it's great, but you do need compliance, you do need franchise agreements, you do need I guess breaches and terminations, and perhaps shy away from those things. And sometimes you have to take action. They say one bad apple can spoil everything. The days where you're perhaps having to deal with that, that problem in your network or in your team, you'll be better for it. If you ignore it and pretend it's not there, it will poison your business, and it will do more harm. So I've become pretty good at that stuff as well, and not shying away from it. So that's my franchise journey in a small nutshell. I love what the BFA stands for, so I'll try and do my bit for them. I'll be talking at the franchise show next month. I'm on a panel with Pip, talking about all the kind of upsides of franchising. So I do. I love it, and by virtue, most of my friends are franchisees or franchisors. It's just kind of, you surround yourself with those types of people.
Community and franchise is amazing, isn't it?
It is cool.
I like it.
I like it a lot. I can't see myself coming outside of franchising now, because I think that's my thing. We all have, I guess, value in the work that we do, and I think my value is around franchising, and I hope leadership as well. I enjoy being part of a team. I enjoy leading a team. So
I can see you being a consultant when you retire. You'd be like, I could see you doing
maybe that. Maybe we'll see. Do you need a consultant?
No.
Not yet.
No. I'm done with that in a minute. We had a lot of consulting last year. We've got a coach as well, Emily from the BFA.
Okay.
She's been our coach for me, Ollie and Jem. I've just done my QFP Souls, Jem. I've
finished it?
I got my interview on the 12th.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah, thanks for your help.
Don't jump the gun. So you need to pass the interview first.
Yeah. No, so I got that on the 12th.
Happy days.
So that's good. I think might put a few people on that as well. But it's at the minute we're building. But mate, it's.
Oh, good. And your business wasn't always franchised.
No.
You pleased that you made that decision? Because what was that, 6 years ago?
No. So it's longer than that. So not everyone knows the story, because it's not the easiest one to figure out, really. So my mum and dad have been in franchising since, I think Mummy and Mum worked out since 1996.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. And then they've been. So the story was, Dad had a franchise. He was a franchise director, shareholder, and part owner of a company called 24/7 Staff. So they were a big franchise, 96 offices, I think, at some point. I see. And then the economy fell to pieces in 2008. They did mainly driver recruitment and the pickers and packers. So that sector just fell to pieces. Yeah. I'm not going to go into the too gory details with you, but basically Dad left. And said to Mum, let's set up doing healthcare recruitment. It's exactly what we know. We can bring the sector to us. So they got some specialist consultants in, worked with another director, they brought on board and born 24/7 Professional Health. So that was November 2011. And then, 2010. Oh, no, 2008, sorry. Brain's not working. 2008, and then I joined 2012, and they started franchising 2010. And then when I joined, it's because Dad got bowel cancer.
Got it.
And then Dad was never back in the business since that day.
Right.
My brother joined, and then obviously the story with Tom. That's 2018. So, franchising. I've known about franchising since I was a kid. Like, I've been around people in franchising. I've been part of franchise businesses through Mum and Dad. Worked in their franchise businesses. I've walked into a franchisee's office with my mum and shut them down with my mum when I was a kid. So I know franchising like in my blood. My mum had a sportswear franchise. It was a wholesale sportswear clothing franchise. I remember specifically, can't remember where it was. Mum would tell me now, and they were selling other brands' clothes under the radar.
Okay.
So we walked in as a customer when we knew the franchisee was on holiday, picked the clothes up, bought them, got the invoice, and the staff member knew who Mum was, and she was shaking and trembling right in the, and she was like, "Can I have a receipt, please?"
Yeah.
Because she wanted proof of purchase.
Yep.
And then she got that and got solicitors and shut them down overnight.
Yeah. And that's what I was alluding to a moment ago. You know, I think you have to be tough enough sometimes to, don't be naive. There'll always be some wrongdoing in your network. There just will be, whether you think there will or not. Mystery shopping, I love. I think that stems from, I've applied a lot of my early kind of retail learnings to what we do now. So I introduced mystery shopping into our business, and so insightful, and
great for training.
And it's not just about catching people out,
it's coaching,
catching them doing things well. When someone scores 90% on a mystery shop, you can celebrate that, and they're chuffed to bits. And so I'm big on mystery shopping.
It's something we don't do, but we need to. We've talked about it before in the past, and we should do. We do coach and mentor as much as we possibly can around it, as best we can. But
the trouble with that though, Ryan, is because I'll say, I'm going to come to to your centre. In our case, I'm going to come to your franchise next week or whatever, and what you see is what they want you to see. Oh right, Paul's coming on X day, so it looks smart. Oh, you've done everything. Oh, it looks busy here, and everything's squeaky clean. But it's the mystery shop is unannounced, and they'll see things how it really is. So
the only thing I think we do need to do mystery shops, and I completely agree. But I think the saving grace was that our clients audit our franchisees.
Okay.
So.
Because of the industry, right?
So they can't get away from it. So it kind of is a mystery shop to a certain degree.
Yeah.
But I actually do want to do mystery shops, just for coaching and mentoring purposes. And I'm not even asked about catching.
Yeah, we're talking about compliance and maybe the big, but actually saying, you forgot to say thank you, or you forgot to.
If you did this, this would have happened.
Yeah. We have a thing in our business where we want, and you said it right at the beginning, we want as many face-to-face consultations because it's so easy now, phone, video call, remote calls. So we try and say, if the first meeting with one of our potential students can be face to face, and every franchise partner, without doubt, that's what I do. That's what we strive to do. But when you mystery shop, let's just have the conversation now. Oh, let's jump online now. And when you play it back to them and say, well, you said you never ever, default to videos. Oh, well, it was just that day. Well, actually, we mystery shopped you 2 weeks prior, and you did it then as well. And so it's a training. To your point, you can train best practice. So I big advocate for those things.
Yeah, good. I think I've covered everything. Everything I wanted to talk to you about, and I wanted to get out of you. I've got, and I knew that you'd answer the way I did. Anything else you want to cover?
I've enjoyed that. Yeah, you've definitely put me on the spot, and I thought it was going to be a bit deep, and it was. Yeah, well,
I knew. You've always struck me as a really good leader, and I really like the way you hold yourself and the decorum you have around you. So I wanted to probe why you were like that, and I figured it out.
Yeah. You never stop trying. I think I try never to be. I don't think I'm great. I don't. I don't allow myself to be arrogant or anything.
You
like
don't.
That.
You're not at all, mate.
I think you've got to be honest. You have to be honest. I said to you as well earlier on about how I remember when I was starting out in my career, where all my managers, and bearing in mind this was over 20 years ago, they were bolshy. They were kind of big egos, and I thought, I'm going to have to be like that then if I want to carve out a management path. And I think society shifted to my advantage. I think that we don't need a kind of world of Lord Sugars running every business nowadays.
No.
Even look at politicians. I think even the leaders in our country have shifted.
Yeah.
Far more women in politics, for example. So I think this notion of a bolshy leader, I think, is more a thing of the past now, and that played into my hands because I didn't wish to be that person. I wanted to be honest. I wanted to be fair. I wanted to be human, and I always try. So I'll always give very, very honest answers. I think privacy is not a bad thing. I try not to overshare. I think you've got kind of home life, work life. One thing, and I don't know if you've picked up on this, Ryan, but social media. Mm-hmm. So I if you'd have looked at my social media 20 years ago, just about, maybe 15 years ago, it was, me with drinks in my hand or, silly pictures, silly videos, and it was kind of, it was the version of me then. But I think, now, and you'll see, your staff are looking at you, your clients are looking at you. The great thing about LinkedIn is so-and-so has just viewed your profile. So I'm very, very aware that you've got, people are looking at you and looking for that inspiration and stuff like that. So I try to be as professional as I can be, as well as being human, because I think some professionals just come over like a robot.
Yeah, you don't need to put the mask on, do you?
No.
Yeah, you don't need to put the mask on. That's one thing I will always be, and if that doesn't get me some things, I am going to be unapologetically myself. And if you don't, it's cool.
I get that. Yeah, cool. I get that.
That's it. I don't be a dick about it. I don't want to say them words like if you don't like it. It's still opinion, mate. It still hurts me that you don't. Mm-hmm, but I am unapologetically going to be me.
Yep.
That's it.
And don't change.
Yeah. Thanks, mate, for coming on.
Thanks, Ryan. No, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, good.
Thank you, Kay.
Cheers.